in the creepiest voice I can manage. Jemima, Jemima, Jemima.
It's pretty intense and it has a pretty real content warning of sexual violence, so if there's anything you don't want to listen to, please don't put yourself through it. But I'm hoping the message is clear and that it's not just supposed to be me ranting about my life. It's supposed to open up a conversation around subjects that are really difficult to talk about, and hopefully more knowledge leads to less judgment, because judgment isn't normally people being mean, it's normally a lack of knowledge about stuff, so we're trying for that, I think. Okay, this is called I Love You. I would set the scene, but my body's defence mechanisms have almost wiped that clean. I couldn't tell you where we'd been, only that I was 16 and what ensued was unforeseen, at least to me, but he was a well-oiled machine. It's dark. Exhaust fumes burn the air and the car is in park. I'm unaware he's about to leave his first mark. The warning lights weren't on, so how was I meant to know there was about to be a problem, let alone a big one? To me, the fact a guy showed any interest was a phenomenon. But he didn't care about me. How I took my tea, that my least favourite soup was minestrone, whether I enjoyed swimming in the sea, or any information about my family tree. He didn't care what I wanted to be, that I had aspirations and dreams, or even how my day at school had been. He only cared what he could get for free as he fumbled around with the buttons on his jeans. It wasn't locked. I could have got out and ran or let out a shout, but I sat and barely entertained my doubt because it was too early to cause a fallout. It didn't matter if to my religion I was devout, because he knew it wasn't within my character to act out and that it wasn't something that I was going to talk about. Maybe why I didn't move was because who would do anything that bad? Outside the house containing my mum and dad. 3 older brothers with every reason to get mad. If only my thoughts had clocked the ones he had, but to have attention from an older lad until this moment had made me glad. The one whose name I doodled in hearts in my yellow sketch pad. And now, you're not leaving until I'm finished, he said, as he gripped his left hand around the back of my head. I wanted to be magically in my bed, alone. Maybe it was my actions he had misread. Or maybe I was a young girl that he had misled. Now the warning lights were burning my eyelids in blood red. This was nothing like the romance stories as a child I'd been read. It wouldn't have mattered how carefully I'd tread, because he'd already planned this out in his head. I should have bit it there and then. Taken one for the team for any future girls or women. But my whole teenage body fell weak. There was no room for me to speak. Maybe words would have invited unwelcome critique. Already convinced I was some sort of freak. The last thing I needed were comments on technique. Or the opposite, some bullshit about how I was special or unique. The silence I'd believed to be a part of his mystique was masking a mentality petrifyingly bleak. So I convinced myself this is what women deserve and what all men seek, as he thrusted bruises onto the insides of my cheeks. You're not leaving until I'm finished, he repeats. I didn't care that I couldn't breathe. By now, passing out would have been a relief, to put a halt on my childhood being taken by a thief, to delay the onset of the inevitable grief. The burning exhaust fumes imitate my burning desire to be anywhere else but here. I choke on my fear, as my mind kicks in to interfere with thoughts of how I'll finish this academic year with a future that's about to become very unclear. I swallow my shame. The taste of blame drains the colour from my face. No signs of an embrace, only a hurried exit just in case anyone caught me in all my disgrace. Clutching the cross on my neck, I hurried to the place I called home. Game face as I steadied my tone. Mom, Dad, I'm home. I'm going to bed. Alone. Days passed with me wearing a mask, constantly harassed with messages to keep quiet, but that part wasn't much of a task. The more he kept to check the tie to the noose got around my neck, the more I realised what he did was wrong. My crippled personality struggled to belong, with thoughts of it repeating like an overplayed song. To ask for help, I knew I had to be strong. I'm going to tell them. I'm going to tell them because they'll understand. Because they'll believe me when I say it was his command and that he emotionlessly forced my hand. But what if they make me take a stand? I'm going to tell them. Because they'll know what to do. They always do. Because they'll stop it before it escalates to something more taboo. Because they will help me to start anew, and because then they'll understand why the last time they went in for a hug I involuntarily withdrew. Because they'll believe what I'm telling them is true. Because Mum will comfort me with her winter stew whilst Dad does his best to undo this warped view that all men will act this way too. I'm going to. Mum, Dad, I love you. Thank you. The rest of the content is mental illness and suicide shaped, so content warning now. And this is called Tornado, and it's about me being a tornado. The National Weather Service has issued a severe weather warning. Storm Jemima has hit the south. A tornado intensity warning F3 is set to tear through your life, turn everything on its head. Emotions will be rife. This weather warning is most certainly a code red. We cannot yet say whether the damage will be widespread, but there is sure to be a blustery path ahead. Her sudden appearance may cause confusion. No need to adjust. She won't be a long-lasting intrusion. However, after the initial luminosity, you may become disillusioned. Prepare to feel a surge of adrenaline awaken your every sense with her first presence. Try not to be tense. Remember, she doesn't mean to cause offence. She is as natural as mountains or the moon's mere existence, but with natural follows disaster. Don't fall victim to her false pretense. With the commotion, you may want to tighten your grasp on common sense before your thoughts condense to only you and her. You don't have time to build a wall for defence. Her deep rumbling is echoing. She's hungry for you. It's about to commence. The lights may be out for some time. The only electricity will be the power drawing her closer to you. Until then, enjoy the view. A change in atmosphere right on cue. Pressure is low. She expects nothing from you. You're going to bind in a whirlwind of heart-pounding excitement and fear of devastation. Please beware of her irresistible fixation on you. She will cling to you. She will consume you. She will rip off your roof, leaving you exposed to who knows who because she believes it could be good for you. Opening up to places you never knew existed. Her judgment may be twisted, but her mystery can't be predicted. Her patterns can't be predicted. Her actions can't be restricted. She's going to sweep you off your feet. Let you swirl amongst her cloud of frozen memories. You being at the centre of her should not be confused with you having a life of your own to which you should retreat. She will drop you back down to the ground alongside your hail-stricken heartbeat. How is it you feel complete when your heart is debris drowning on concrete? Leaves fly from branches of trees like birds. If she teaches you one thing, let it be to be free. To have no restrictions on the speed at which you chase your needs, that even after lightning strikes you can still succeed, that caught up in the strongest gusts you can still breathe. Her aggression was not meant for you. No one wants to be a disaster, no matter how natural. It accumulated inside of her and she blew spine-chilling surface winds into your eyes, blindingly beautiful skies disturbed by cries to go back in time. Power flashes from lines light the way for broken futures to collide. She invites you along for the ride. To make this more complex, what nonsense, a multiple vortex is more destructive than a single cyclone. Don't let her drag you too far into the unknown or rotate your thoughts until dust becomes your home. If you're brave enough to cut off the air supply, the vortex will weaken. Roping out tornado choked with doubt of her existence, becoming a thing cut out of her former self. Trees creak as they straighten their backs to watch her dissipate. You won't see the same her again. Don't forget, after the storm will come a rainbow to frame the lasting impression that became all that remained of the life-threatening game she played. How colourful it is up to you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, this is new. I haven't performed it yet, so this is kind of exciting. I wrote this for my parents, so it's actually written to them, because after dealing with mental illness for the last year and a half-ish, something like that, when you're ill in any way, you have to be selfish, you have to look after yourself, because otherwise it doesn't work. I think you have to be selfish, to be honest, even if you're not ill, just in everyday life, it doesn't work if you don't look after you first. But as things started to become a little bit more clear over the last few months, I started to realise more so what it had done to people around me, especially my parents. We're extremely close, I do live with them. They've been there through the whole thing. So I wrote this to them because sometimes communicating is really difficult for me. Poetry is kind of the way I do it. So this is called My Biggest Fear. My biggest fear. It's gained momentum not by the day but by the second, and I know because I felt it build as I've watched each tick of my bedroom clock, whilst each tock builds agitation, contributing to the inflammation of discontent. It's going to be too late. I can't communicate because of my mental state, and I'm scared that it is going to be too late one day. One day I'll awake and there will be no undoing my mistake, because you are gone, and that which I'd fought for all along to be nice to you will no longer be an option. The only option is to be sorry, so sorry, and to wallow away the rest of my days playing through alternative ways in my already dishevelled brain. And what does that gain? Hate is the wrong word. But the actions, so easy. It's not you, it's me, but I don't blame you for not believing a line so cheesy. I don't blame you, so I don't know why I'm acting like I do, and I'm sorry. So sorry, because you didn't raise me this way. You raised me to exude love no matter how heavy my demons weigh. I've never lied to you before. Yet you still question, are you sure? When I tell you I'm okay, I've never lied to you before. Until now. I'm lost. I'm lost like our home movies on old VHS. I need to be converted to work in this modern world before you can gain access. I'm a closed book of poems you want to read. My brain goes as deep as a submarine. The deeper I go, the less light can penetrate the waters to reach me. I'm racing the go-kart you bought us as kids, head first into the wall I've built. Cutting through the rope of the tyre swing you made with my razor-sharp tongue. Hammering on the slats with my heavy heart of the treehouse you built when we were young. I'm making a molehill out of the mountain you once were. I got your eyes, but trying to see through them is one big blur. I maintain that what you don't know can't hurt you, but I know you make scenarios in your head and it's worse. I don't want to be interesting or funny because that warrants attention. Too close for comfort has never rang so true. I'm looking for a cure because I left it too late for prevention, and I'm sorry. I wiped away your touch. I know your intention, I misjudged, but I've spent a decade wiping away his, and this reaction won't budge. Soft kisses sit on my skin like paper cuts. How can I feel like you're trying to reduce my rights when you're trying to reduce my pain? How can I feel like you're holding me back when you're holding back the knife from my vein? You're gathering me back together and I'm giving you one more wrinkle for every time my silence increases the strain, and I'm sorry that you didn't get to say goodbye to her. But she feels so much peace. She couldn't take on the world as it is now. She said it's a job for me, and I agree, but an initiation period is routine with any newly filled vacancy. If my job had been as unrewarding as yours has been recently, I'd have quit, but you work harder. Every time I hoist at the anchor, you throw it back down with a reminder that it is safer in the harbour. Your love has been known to move monsters for me, and mine moves you to tears. On the outside, you're the sturdy frame around our family photos. Inside, on your knees, praying for my nightmares to disappear. And I'm sorry I can't feel for you. But my frozen heart pumps cold blood around my body, and it's making me numb. I should treat you better, knowing you're the ones that never falter, knowing you're there at the end of any episode, regardless of the outcome. But I am a constant contradiction of help me, no, don't. I still hang on your every word, but sometimes I like to cut the rope. You're there every time at the bottom to catch me if I can't stop. Your love travels faster than my thoughts, and you anticipated this before I dropped. I don't like goodbyes since the thought became permanent, but you need one before I leave. I want to slow down and take in this moment, but my brain has the body of an athlete. You wind me up like a jack-in-the-box, but it's a toy you've never seen before. You want to know you're cranking up the tension, or whether you'll be met with a children's party clown or that lunatic from Saw. The small things that make me scowl now will be the things I know I'd miss the most. The sounds that make me twitch will be the sounds I wish were still this close. I wish I could let you love me in the way you want to. I've never seen something so unconditional. You've changed your views on everything for me to be more modern and less traditional. Now, 1 hour at a time, you'll say. And I know you understand. You might die tomorrow, just go for it. I can take that kind of command. We've all felt the heat on this last trip around the sun. Something has to give to relieve some pressure on the next one. My biggest fear is that one day it'll be too late and I won't have fixed it before you're done. But thank you for letting me learn to walk again before I learn to run. So this is me, opening up my closed book of poetry for you to read, in the hope it goes some way to setting us free. To not sitting on the stairs for conversation so that there's a barrier in between. Just wait. I will always come back to you. Just wait. If you have time. See, you wrote that poem, and I realised you're the reason that I write. You're the reason that I'm alive. Thank you. So, this is my last poem, so massive thank you to you guys before I do this one for having me, because it's been awesome. I've really enjoyed tonight. Thank you, Ziggy, for asking me to do this. This is awesome. This is part of a longer piece. It's like, I think it's about 9 minutes long, and it's on YouTube if anyone wants to hear the whole thing. It's what's your YouTube thing? So my YouTube is Jemima Hughes, so it's under my name. This poem specifically is called Dear Brain, which makes absolutely no sense for the cut-out version I'm about to do, but online it's called Dear Brain. It's basically just a rant on mental health. Which kind of goes in with the theme tonight, because there's been a lot of like mental health stuff, and I'm all for it, definitely. If we can start understanding something without actually having to live it, I think that would get us further than where we are. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, mental illness and suicide, content warning. See, it was the most surreal thing. Finally wanting to live again, but realising I no longer knew how to. This world is so different to the last one I knew, like someone photoshopped me in but forgot to airbrush me smooth. I woke to 2 new family members I didn't know were due, allowance to swear in front of my parents because the sound of my voice was a breakthrough. I used to be a chameleon, now I'm the elephant in the room. My body is a prison with a chief that won't listen, inmate for life, no chance of parole or escape plans to come into fruition. People look at me like they can catch it. Maybe they can, but I'd argue more likely that they don't understand. If only they understood that they don't understand, that would lend more of a helping hand than wrapping me in bubble wrap and sending me in padded package into a secure room where I can be manned. I'm not mental. They're judgmental. I'm not mentally ill, I'm mentally intriguing. And there's something very beautiful about being mentally intriguing. And I'm not talking about how sometimes I forget how to breathe in without counting. I mean the ability to tap into another dimension that some people will only ever dream in. Plus, when I'm mentally intriguing, I know how to behave. Trying to act normal feels like someone turned up gravity and it's sucking me through the floor into an early grave. Maybe I see the world through fanatical eyes, or maybe some only open theirs up to desirable skies. My head is in the clouds, not because I'm high, but because they hang low alone, because climates don't compromise when I'm left cold and without light. Though the sun remembered to rise, I'm reminded if I don't meet expectations, I am not obliged to apologise. Like that time I felt nothing plummeting from a 14,000 feet skydive, because happiness isn't real and neither is fear that in your mind. The mind being the most powerful tool you own, which is why the enemy fights you there, because it's where it gets you alone. How can I feel everything and nothing within one breath? How can I feel empty, yet simultaneously as heavy as my dad's eyelids after a bottle of red? Forget monsters underneath mine, spoon me in my bed, body's exhausted, ready to sleep, but the memo didn't make it to my head, maybe. The problem is, it's midday, and I'm forcing myself to sleep, and not because I'm tired, but so something may have changed when I awake to pull me out of this whimpering heat that seemingly there is no reason for me to be in. My body feels stronger than it should ever have had to be, yet still, I'll speak to you with the honesty of a child, if with the delicacy of one is how you treat me. If I was screaming because I trapped my finger in the door, it would be easy to feel sympathy, but trapped inside my own head, the instinct is to criticise and flee. But please, try to imagine feeling so anxious that the sound of someone parting their lips makes you feel you could rip your eardrums out with ease, or the texture of loved one's words make you bite because they torment your teeth, or your clothes touching you the wrong way will leave you twitching for weeks. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at my irrational response in allowing my life to become this bleak. Someone else's inspiration to live when I'm still on a 4-to-3 ratio myself each week. Suicide is selfish, is not an opinion, it's wrong. What's selfish is expecting someone to live for you when their pain is excruciating and they feel they can't belong, when I don't hesitate on a bridge. I've won a race for life. When oxygen I need to survive suffocates me, I feel like I belong in outer space. I am rough around the edges and straight through the middle. My language is encrypted and my actions contort as riddles. It's like I developed a 6th, 7th, 8th sense for things that don't need to be sensed. My large intestine is a spitting cobra releasing venom that leaves me temporarily blind to the present tense. My skin is worn out, like me. Baths became an overused comfort, like tea. I never drink decaf, and I do that for me because despite what doctors have me believe, no one was ever diagnosed with something off the back of lack of decaf coffee. Don't let me fool you into a false sense of security. I think too much to be logical. But writing makes you feel happy? No, writing makes me feel, full stop. So I load my pen with pain and I spiel, because this is what happens when mental intrigue reaches fever pitch. We create something that makes the pain appeal, and there's something to be said for a rhyme to help people believe that something is real. The day I began to lose my mind, I began to find myself. That is when I realised it is okay to ask for help. Even if it means waking someone up. Self-sabotage is enticing, but it is a relief when someone interrupts. See, 2 steps forward and 1 step back is not a royal fuck-up, it is still 1 step forward. So I take the bad with the good and I embrace my disordered and awkward now. I look forward to tasting that first tea of many in the morning, because it means I've made it through another night. Progress is progress, regardless of how slight. Thank you so much.